There's a question about your boarding pass. Do you have a second form of ID? Marcus Reed lowered his book. He was in seat 2A. A window. A plain gray hoodie. Old sneakers. A paperback gone soft from his jacket pocket. 90 seconds ago, he'd tipped a tired barista $10 on a $4 coffee and lifted an old woman's bag onto the escalator step without a word. Nobody had looked at him twice. That was how he liked it. It's 2A. Marcus said. Want to scan it again? The gate agent, Kyle Foster. Late 20s. A lanyard and a clipboard. He didn't really need. Barely looked. This is first class. I just need to verify you're in the right seat. Marcus pulled his driver's license and held it out. Foster studied it far longer than necessary, turning it in the light, glancing from the photo to his face and back. Across the aisle, a woman in pearls sipped champagne in 3C. A man in a wrinkled suit shoved a bag overhead. Nobody asked them for anything. Marcus noticed. He always noticed. Foster clicked his pen twice. 3 times. Then walked toward the galley with the license still in his hand. That's mine, Marcus said. 1 second. Sir. Through the gap in the curtain, he watched Foster lift a radio. Lower his voice. Angle his shoulder away. Marcus didn't need the words. He said his mother's birthday card, the one she'd slipped into his bag at the door. Read it on the plane, face down on his knee, and kept his hands open and visible, the way he'd taught himself a long time ago. The man who came through the curtain was older, 50s, thick through the shoulders, a security supervisor's badge on his belt. The tag read, Brunner. He looked at Marcus the way you look at a stain. Down, up, and down again. First class. Huh? He let it hang. You fly up here often. When I travel. Yes. Is there an issue? That depends. Brunner slid the license into his own shirt pocket. 20 years doing this. I get a feeling about people, and I'm getting a real strong feeling about you. He leaned on the seat back. How'd a guy like you afford a seat like this? Points. Somebody else's card. The cabin had gone quiet. Marcus heard the woman in pearls whisper to her husband. I paid for it, he said. Same as everyone up here. Sure you did. Brunner straightened and keyed his radio. Yeah. It's Brunner. Going to need a second unit at gate D7. Uncooperative individual on board. Uncooperative. Marcus hadn't raised his voice once. He hadn't left his seat. While we wait, Brunner said, folding his arms. Let's clear something up. You got proof you paid for this seat. The boarding pass is the proof. You're holding the ID. It's booked under. Anybody can print a pass. Brunner nodded at his jacket. I mean real proof. Pull up your bank? Show me the charge. The request was so absurd it took Marcus a second to be sure he'd heard it. Across the aisle, the man in the wrinkled suit stared hard at his own phone. Careful not to look. Nobody was asking him to open a banking app. Nobody ever would. For a moment, the refusal sat right on Marcus's tongue. Every reason this was wrong. Then he thought of the second unit on its way. The 40 people watching. His own bed at the end of it. So he took out his phone, opened the app, scrolled to the charge, the airline's own name, his card, the exact fare, and turned the screen toward Brunner. There, paid in full. 3 days ago. Brunner glanced at it for half a heartbeat. Could be anybody's account. It has my name on it. Names are easy. He'd already moved the goalpost. Because the proof had never been the point. And Marcus, lowering the phone slowly. Understood exactly where this was going. He'd been here before, in 100 smaller rooms, his whole life. He just never thought it would happen on one of his own planes. Brunner reached up, popped the overhead bin, and pulled down Marcus's carry-on like it was already evidence. "You can't search that," Marcus said, halfway out of his seat. "I don't consent to that. Sit down." Brunner dropped the bag onto the empty aisle seat and unzipped it in one hard pull. "On this aircraft, I don't need your permission." That wasn't true, and some part of Brunner probably knew it. But the cabin was full of people who weren't going to stop him. He dug through it in front of everyone. A folded shirt, a charger, a bottle of his mother's blood pressure pills Marcus had promised to refill, holding each item up a beat too long, narrating with his eyes. "See what we've got here." Then his fingers closed on something at the bottom. A laminated card on a lanyard. Marcus's executive credential. His photo. The airline's logo. The word director in clean capitals. Marcus's heart lifted. Just slightly. "That's my company ID. Look at it. Really look." Brunner glanced at it. He saw the logo. He saw the title. He saw the face that matched the one in front of him. And he tossed it back in the bag. "Fake," he said. "Or stolen. People like you don't run anything." The cruelty of it was almost clean. The literal answer to the question he kept asking had been in his hand. And he'd thrown it away. Because it didn't fit the story he'd already written. Down the aisle, the flight attendant appeared. 2 waters still in her hands. Naomi Webb set them down. "He hasn't caused any trouble. I've been right here the whole time. Stay out of it," Brunner said, not turning. "This is a security matter. But he's just been sitting. One more word and you're off this crew." His tone snapped like a door. Naomi's mouth closed. She caught Marcus's eye. And in her face was an apology she had no power to make good on. The cabin door thudded. 2 more officers came down the bridge. Boots squeaking. Radios hissing. Brunner squared his shoulders. He had his audience. And now his backup. "All right. You're getting off this aircraft." "On what grounds?" Marcus asked. Still seated. "On the grounds that I said so." Marcus felt the trap in his own body. Fight. And the video shows a struggling black man. Freeze. And they drag him anyway. There was no version where his stillness saved him. So he made a choice. He set his mother's card gently on the seat, raised both hands slow and open, and spoke loud enough for every phone to hear. "I'm not resisting. I want everyone recording this. I am not resisting." "Smart," Brunner said, and grabbed his arm. The ratchet of the cuffs cut through the cabin. That quick. Ugly zip of the teeth. Cold steel closed around one wrist. Then the other. He had committed no crime. He had shown a pass, a license, a bank charge, a company ID, and he was being cuffed in a first-class seat for the offense of sitting in it. They pulled him up. His shoulder cracked into a seat back. A shoe slipped off and stayed behind. The carry-on tipped, spilling across the carpet. The shirt, the pills, and his mother's birthday card, which landed open in the aisle, just as a boot came down and ground a dirty print across her handwriting. Marcus saw it happen. Something in his chest went tight and white. A toddler's voice rose, bright and clear. "Mommy, why are they hurting that man?" No one answered her. They walked him out, through the cabin, the jet bridge, into the full bright stare of the terminal, and sat him on a hard bench against the glass. Belongings still scattered on the plane behind him. The three officers turned away. A little wall of backs, and laughed once. Low. A janitor mopping nearby caught Marcus's eye and held it. He gave the smallest nod. Marcus nodded back. Then he reached into his hoodie, took out his phone, and pressed a number he knew by heart. Altair Operations. This is Carla. Carla. It's Marcus. He turned slightly from the officers. Voice low. I'm at gate D7. I'm in handcuffs. Your security team pulled me off 441 and cuffed me in front of the cabin. Come down here. Now. The line went quiet. Then, I'm leaving my desk this second. Don't say another word to them. Bruner had noticed the call. Who do you think you're phoning? Your lawyer won't beat your flight out of here. Not my lawyer, Marcus said, calm as still water. The person who runs this airline. Bruner barked a laugh, and then a door banged open across the concourse. Carla Mendez crossed the gate area fast, heels striking tile like gunshots, her badge swinging. She didn't look at Bruner. She dropped to a crouch in front of Marcus, eyes going straight to the cuffs. Mr. Reed, who put these on you? Ma'am. Step back, Bruner said. This is a security matter. She stood and turned on him, and her voice carried to every corner of the gate. This is Marcus Reed, founder and chief executive of Altair Airways. He owns this airline. He owns the aircraft you just dragged him off of. He signs your paycheck. And mean. The silence had a texture. It moved through the crowd phone by phone, until a passenger near the front whispered it aloud. They cuffed the owner. Bruner's eyes went, against his own will, to the carry-on still spilled on the bench, to the laminated card-stamped director he'd called fake 10 minutes ago, lying right there where he'd thrown it. The blood drained from his face in stages. A few feet back, the change rippled outward. The woman in pearls who'd said some of us actually paid set her glass down slowly, her face gone pale. The man who'd wanted everyone to hurry suddenly found his shoes very interesting. Take them off, Carla said. The officer fumbled the key. The cuffs clicked open. Marcus rolled his wrists. Red lines pressed into the skin, and stood to his full height. He didn't gloat. That wasn't the power he carried. You wanted me to prove I could afford the seat, he said quietly. I own the plane. Mr. Reed. I had no way of knowing. You had a company ID with my face on it. You called it fake. Marcus's voice never rose. You said you get briefings about who to watch for. That's... I was following. And I fit the briefing. He let it land. That's exactly the problem. You should treat people decently when you don't know who they are. That's the whole point. A man shouldn't have to own the plane to sit on it in peace. Bruner had no answer. The excuses had run dry. Marcus turned to Carla. Ground every Altair aircraft. Nothing pushes back until I know how this happened. And who let it? Sir. That's the entire fleet. 180. I know how many planes I own. The order went out in under a minute. Coast to coast. Screens flipped green to red. Gate by gate. Engines spun down. 180 aircraft sat frozen on the tarmac. All because of what 3 people did at gate D7. The reckoning struck exactly where the power had been abused. Bruner and the 2 officers lost their badges that hour. He was charged under federal civil rights law. Unlawful detention. A search no one consented to. The deprivation of rights under color of authority. Kyle Foster lost his job and didn't fight it. He testified anyway. And on camera, he said the thing out loud. He didn't look like he belonged up front. The moment he heard himself, he went gray. Then the audit Marcus ordered open files the old management had buried. 9 complaints against Bruner over 6 years. Almost all from passengers of color. Everyone stamped, unsubstantiated. One man can be cruel. Marcus told his board. It takes an institution to protect him. The managers who'd shredded those 9 were gone too. At trial, the prosecutor froze the footage on the frame where Bruner held the director card and tossed it away. He held the proof. He read the title. He called it fake because the truth didn't fit the story he'd chosen. 9 times before this. The verdict came down guilty. What Marcus built next outlasted the headlines. A passenger bill of rights posted at every gate. You may record. You may ask why. An independent ombudsman. Real training led by Naomi. And a scholarship fund whose first 9 recipients were the 9 buried names. His mother's card. The boot print never fully gone. He had framed. It hangs in his office now. The smallest thing on the wall. And the one he looks at most. If you believe respect shouldn't depend on who someone turns out to be. Like this video. Subscribe for more stories of quiet justice. And tell us in the comments. Would you have been the one to speak up? This is a fictional story created for storytelling purposes.